Hello, if you are watching this, you are watching one of the first ever episodes of the Power First podcast. You're in early. It means a ton to me that you are here. Please like, subscribe, share, whatever you got to do to support this growing project I've got going on here. It really helps out a ton. I also have a YouTube channel called Compost Modernism. Pretty different spin on the project over there, but it's still in the same vein of what we'll be discussing here. And yeah, baby. Let's go. Power first. Let's get into it.
Anytime there's a minute shift in power from the people who are holding the power, a battle ensues.
Okay, here we are. Hello, everybody. This is episode 2 of the Power First podcast. I am sitting here today with two activists who were recently integral in a campaign to stop the construction of a AI data center in San Marcos in Central Texas. And we're here to discuss the campaign that they organized, everything that went into stopping it, the whole process of engaging with city government in order to stop something that they did not want to happen. And I'm going to kick it to them to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into it.
My name is Corinne Loperfido. I live in San Marcos, and I am the mind and the ass behind the campaign Hot Girls Hate AI. And I would like to say that probably had a lot of help in our win. So, yeah, just saying, don't underestimate the power of your ass for social change.
My name is Jordan Moser, and yes, I don't know exactly how to introduce myself in this moment, but I was involved in the campaign against the data center recently, which is ongoing, actually. So we can get into all that.
Yeah. So, part of the impetus for having this discussion, there's a lot of in the world, as we're all aware, the world of politics right now is far from ideal, we can say. And there's, a lot of feelings of helplessness, I would say, amongst a lot of people. It's like when they think about this system, it seems like this behemoth. I mean, and it is, it is a world scale, like epochal demon that we have summoned into the world. That we are all kind of operating under the system, but a lot of people become overwhelmed by that process and the system that we exist under. Like, we didn't have a choice, we were born into this, and so then they kind of just enter this like doomerism, and they could give up, and they don't. And a lot of times these people are maybe separated from their local ecology, separated from the local area that they, like the actual natural resources of the area that they exist in. And so then that just kind of leads them to become disembodied from themselves, disembodied from the system, disembodied from the earth. And then they just kind of exist in this like liminal space of just feeling like they're completely helpless to actually do anything about the violence of the system. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to y'all is because that was not what happened here. It was the opposite of that. Y'all, are very connected to the local area, as far as I understand, have a lot of love for the water and the ecology of the area. And so I'm sure that was a big motivating factor in, organizing this campaign and fighting so passionately against the AI data center. So if you wouldn't mind just talking me through kind of like how you became aware of it at first, and then like what the very beginning stages of the actual campaign were like.
Yeah, I guess we became aware of it, God, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. Or maybe a year, we've been talking at City Hall. I think we've talked like 5 times at this point on this topic. And before that, when we were living in Austin, we also talked when they were trying to build like an underground parking garage around Barton Springs. So we both have been involved, and you can speak about, the stuff that you've done. But anyways, yeah, I feel like if you live in a place, then you're drinking the water from that place. And if you have the opportunity to do something to help that situation, a lot of people don't think about getting involved in civic stuff because, like, as you were saying, they're just like, oh, black pill me's daddy. Like, I don't care. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. But it's like, okay, let's just for a moment remind ourselves that the big time, like when we had all the press on February 17th, when we like, people were like, we won. It's like, well, we won this particular moment, but like there still are many other data centers, not only in San Marcos, but also around, and in Round Rock, one just got approved. They're trying to make this, basically Greg Abbott wants to incentivize people to come to Central Texas and to Texas all over to build data centers when we actually are not one of the wettest places in the country. So a little bit weird, obviously, for business, not for people. And yeah, I think that for me, anything that involves like speaking out against human supremacy, because yes, we have the war machine and we have these economic issues, but all of that is human supremacy. And at the end of the day, AI only hurts. It doesn't help anybody. Um, Even humans, the ones that are using it. So I try and show up to things where I can speak for the consideration of the non-human beings as well, because we act like, oh, we have to do all this for the economy, we have to do this and that to take care of people. It's like, okay, what about the billions of life forms that are non-human that are being negatively affected by this stuff? So yeah, that's like just a little bit about what motivates me to get involved. What about you?
Well, San Marcos is a special place.
Mm.
It has been loved and inhabited for many, many thousands and thousands of years. And it's because of the water that just miraculously comes out of the ground. And there's a lot of kids go to the college here and they have their time with the river and then they move on. But there's other people that live here so that they can have a relationship with the water. And we certainly do. And when you hear of things that are threatening to that water, it perks you up because we see it dwindling already before these threats of these AI data centers and their excessive use of groundwater. Um, so if we're going to be in integrity with our love for the river, we will do what it takes to stand up for it. And that goes for the whole watershed because the Edwards Aquifer, um, it supplies water to millions of people from San Antonio to Austin. That's the mega region. That not this mega region golden goose that they're selling us, like this inevitable growth of this region is going to just pave everything between San Antonio and Austin, which we're right in the middle of. So for this constellation of reasons, when we saw people there's a organization called the Data Center Action Coalition, and they are scientists and people trying to appeal to these civic bodies with research that a lot of times and information that a lot of times city councils don't even know. And
Well, the developer's never going to provide that information to the city council, so the people have gotten together and are like, okay, well, we're going to present to you all these facts.
and still they redact it. So we saw their campaigns last year. It seemed as though they had stopped it. We had been going to the city council meetings and doing comments. So there was a small victory, and it seemed like it was dead in the water, and that they could reapply after 6 months. But as soon as the year changed over, there was a new city council lineup, and they just immediately, first thing on, boom, let's do the AI data center vote again. That really pissed us off here as citizens, because the whole time in the comments we were like, this is just for the 1%. This is just for the surveillance state. This is just for the further oppression of our earth. And then to see them like just immediately take it back onto the agenda was like, whoa. So it got a lot of people activated, and the people who had been organizing were so tired because they had already been fighting it for like a year and a half at that point. They thought they were getting some relief. So when this new thing came up, a lot more people were perked up, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate my time and energy to this. We went to a meeting, and it was basically a bunch of exhausted organizers saying, just do something, just for the love of, just do something. And after that meeting, Corinne and I were there, and a few other people had we had gone through an exercise where we could like mine what we could offer to this initiative, and the people who were saying art and they had art supplies, we all kind of got together at the end just naturally, and Corinne was like, let's do an event, and we did it, and we've been doing the events, and they were instrumental in getting people to put something of their self into it. And maybe Corinne can talk about this more, but like making block prints and printing them on your clothes as something that I'm going to show up in is kind of like an invitation, and also like holding them accountable. Like, you went to this art event, you put this like say no to AI or whatever on your shirt. Like,
don't be a poser.
bring your friends, bring your friends and come, you know, and like everyone wants to be like, you know.
Yeah.
But
and that's the thing, is that what Data Center Action Coalition was saying was basically, this is early February, before this big February 17th meeting. They were just like, we need more people to do stuff. So if you guys have an idea, go do something. And so, yeah, the other artists in the room and I got together, and I was like, let's do some protest art making events. And so I booked a room at the library, and I booked just the porch of my friend's local bookshop. And we did these events, and there was like 100 people ish, you know, that came to the first one, and probably like 50 to 75 people that came to the second one. I mean, it's hard to tell when you're doing stuff the whole time, but there was a constant flow of people at both events, and they were free. And I think that the thing is, people, to go off of what Jordan was just saying, like, people want to be invited to something, and they want to do what's right. But because of what you said at the beginning, they're like, I'm at the combination World War III and Civil War. Like, they don't know, like, what to do in that crossroads. Like, there's a lot of intersections in the intersectionality of it all, and there's a lot to throw yourself into. But for me, like, I want to throw my energy into what is local and what is present for me, because that's what's going to be the easiest for me to show up. Not like, oh, I just want to do whatever's the easiest activism. Like, no, I gave my heart and soul to this thing for 3 weeks, and like, we'll continue to work on this project. But like, to generate the excitement for people to want to show up at City Hall, which people think of as like a very boring, like tedious thing. I was like, okay, well, what if we made it about art? What if we made it about self-expression and, you know, a joyful a party, basically, which is the background that I come from, is like throwing big parties. And so I was like, oh, we need to mobilize 500 people, or, you know, whatever. Like, if there had only been, what was it, like 130 people total had ever like showed up to City Hall previously, before this year, basically in 2025, when we went and spoke, I think 3 different times. And then on February 17th, through like me and many other people, and, you know, different various groups and students and Data Center Action Coalition and a new group called Data Center Creeps, and then there's this other thing called Texas Data Center Rebellion, that is trying to get the tri-county area or whatever, like all the different organizers across Texas, to come together and be like, whoa, you know, one watershed, one fight. Even though it's not all coming from one watershed, we all can share these tactics and inspiration and wins. And, you know, like, for example, what happened in Round Rock, I think it was like the same week or the week before, or maybe it was the week before, because I think that the Round Rock thing being shut down, or like the people being shut down, them actually voting for the data center in Round Rock, I think did light a fire under people's ass in San Marcos, because they were like, oh my God, okay, like, they're gonna approve this thing if we don't all show up. And so I think that the combination of scientists and students and artists and new energy and the Save Our Springs lawyers and like all the different energies coalesced so that we had, you know, 500 to 1,000 people pass through City Hall that night.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, there's so many different forces, both civic and citizen forces, that are trying to get this situated. And the main issue right now seems to be that there's Greg Abbott, who's like, hey, everybody, come on down and build your data center. And then there's local people like Hays County Judge Ruben Becerra, who was trying to get an AI data center moratorium going on. But then the people on his team, because I went to every press conference and every meeting that there was, you know, in February, to try and figure out what is going on and how do we communicate that to people? And basically the lawyers were like, well, we can't necessarily say AI data center moratorium because then, da, 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 da. So the lawyers and the city and the county and the state are all kind of like pointing fingers at each other. And it's like, well, who is going to solve this? Because we don't really have time to wait until the special session in 2027 in a year from now when the Texas people are all going to get together. Like, how many inches, how many feet of water are we going to lose from the groundwater, from the overpumping, and from just the evaporation and the overuse of water as we see the water in San Marcos? Like, when I first came here in 2008, you could jump off anywhere in Sewell Park and dive in. And now the water doesn't even go over the steps. And every day we drive by it and we see it getting lower and lower. And so I think that what made San Marcos so special is that we have a communal place of worship that is the river. And where is the communal cultural place of worship in Round Rock? I don't know. And so I think that it was easier for us to mobilize people in our community because we have a place
yeah.
that people feel deeply spiritually and environmentally passionate about, whereas in other places they got strip malls, you know, like there's nothing that really rallies them in a fierce, passionate way, quite like what we have in San Marcos, which is I believe why, in addition to all of our promotional efforts, it's the water that really motivates people to like care and engage in a way that they might not have ever before.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a super interesting point. That because like so many people live in just these like strip mall hellscape towns that are just like a lot like they go outside and they look around and like where is this? Like,
exactly, they all look the same.
Yeah,
so
it's like
they're
it's
not
disembodied from like the ecology of the place that they live. It's all just copy pasted America slop bullshit. And
before AI, there was strip mall slop.
Yeah, and it's still
humans didn't need artificial intelligence to create slop.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, that's an interesting point. You know, it's like the power of the river, like the sheer attraction of the power of the water there is what brought everyone together. But you know, like those places, it's not like the river here is obviously special and powerful, but it's like that the ability to connect with the ecology, you know, it's not like that doesn't exist in other places. So it's just like that just goes to show it's like to anybody out there that is thinking about these things, you know, it's like find a way, find like the spirit and the land that you live in, you know, and then connect with it and, you know, ally yourself with it. And then from there, you'll find meaning in everything that you do, because everything that you do will be in defense of that. So it doesn't turn into copy paste America slop hellscape. Just so we're all, you know, kind of on the same page of context here, walk me through like what you understand to be the biggest harms that data centers can inflict on local water supplies.
Whew. All right. Well, I mean, you said on water supplies.
Watersheds, like whatever. Whatever the useful unit is.
The people who were trying to build these data centers were very in bad faith with the community as far as being transparent about their water usage numbers. They basically fell on their faces in any sort of community outreach. They were not prepared.
They never had answers to any questions.
And it took sleuthers. It took amazing community members, and I call them sleuthers, you know, the finders of the truth, and they navigate all the confusing bureaucracies, and they do the Freedom of Information Acts and stuff. And, you know, we went to an action or a meeting at the Clearwater District, which was the regulating body that could enact a stage 4 drought. And they basically said that it's not on their agenda, even though hundreds of us showed up and interrupted their meeting, and they listened to us each speak, and they were moved by what we had to say. But they eventually just said it's not on our agenda.
Well, they were basically saying, we can't declare stage 4 because we get our water from a bunch of different places. And what if one of our sources isn't in stage 4? Then we can technically still provide the water.
And the reality is that this region's water is a karst aquifer. It's already threatened by overdevelopment. There's already legendary water places, swimming holes and just springs, beautiful places that are going away.
Mhm.
That is before all of these millions and billions of gallons that the AI data centers plan to extract, turn
Mhm.
into steam
Mhm.
and toxic contamination.
Mhm.
So in specifics to your question, the water that they would steal from our aquifer, they would put proprietary chemicals in, like coolant
Mm.
things. Then, a lot of it would be evaporated off due to the extreme heat that the
Mhm.
AI data
Yeah,
center
in Texas, no less.
produces in the middle of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna put a black roof, I'm sure.
And
Yeah.
then whatever toxic water was left over at the end of that process,
Mhm.
they would
Barrel it up
they
and
would barrel it
remove
up
it.
and ship it somewhere else
Okay.
to be dumped. And I know that the
Huh.
fracking industry has already gotten the green light from Greg Abbott to put their radioactive, which they don't tell you, but
Mm.
radioactive brine from fracking is put in trucks, and it gives the truck drivers all these hazards that they are not properly insuring. If they had to properly insure that, the fossil fuel industry would have already ended.
Mm.
But they're taking these hazardous materials and they're going to probably go dump them on northern roads, sell them as like salts and
Mm.
whatever,
Sick.
because that stuff isn't that regulated. So,
Mhm.
but that watershed is not our watershed, but I believe that we need to be
Yeah. It's all
in
connected.
our
Yeah.
groundwater bankruptcy, we need to be protecting all
Mhm.
groundwater
Mhm.
in the
I think it's
world.
water bankruptcy in
Yeah.
general.
Well, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
groundwater is only
Mhm.
2% of
Yeah.
water on
But
Earth.
if you think about the general concept of water bankruptcy and you think about what's happening just in the past week, the amount of like explosive blasts and tankers of oil and shit that has gotten blown up in this most recent burst of the war with Iran, and also the oil spills that are happening and like the amount of pollutants that are in the water, like the ocean is bankrupt. Like we have also bankrupted all life in the ocean. The coral reefs are drying up, the fish numbers are plummeting, like overfishing, overharvesting, dumping, like water in general. So people are like, "Oh, we're just going to desalinate the water and then we'll all be saved." No, you fucking poisoned all the water on earth, whether it's on the ground, in the air. And so one thing I wanted to also add what you were saying about the water poison, it's also there's two other things there's three other things. There's air poison, soil poison and cultural poison. And so the water is the biggest thing because obviously water is life. We all drink water, everything. We need water. But we also need clean air to breathe and these things produce like so basically like what they're proposing for one of these data centers is that it would need its whole own backup power plant and it would use as much energy as the entire city of San Marcos on a peak day every day.
And that power plant, I didn't get a chance to say, would be the biggest consumer of water. It's not the cooling.
In the city.
The water
Uh-huh.
that would be consumed by that is gigantic,
Yeah.
city scale,
Uh-huh.
basically.
Yeah, they're basically trying to build multiple other cities right next to San Marcos in these relatively flat areas that
Mhm.
are right next to a power plant because and so I went to see these sites. They're over by Francis Harris Lane by the like Trace community and there's an elementary school right over there and there's a huge power plant in the middle of this field kind of that's like supplying power to the neighborhood and to the school and all this. But the developers are like, "Oh, there's some nice delicious flat land that nobody wants." And I couldn't help but notice that there's a power plant right adjacent. But that's not enough for them because that power plant is already powering all these things that exist. So they need to tap into that power plant and then also tap into additional resources to have backup generators so they can say, "Oh, it's going to be fine. Like we're only going to use this much power and then if anything goes bad, we have our backup generators." But they can just fucking run those backup quote unquote backup generators all the time, bypassing what they had said they were going to do for the power plant and just secretly putting all these emissions
Yeah.
up anyway. And so then the other thing is in addition to that, like chemicals and like poison going up into the air, people are like breathing all of these chemicals. They're literally right next door. And the same way that we share water, we share air, and like air pollution goes up, and what does it become? Fucking rain particles that rains down. Is that correct? Am I understanding science? Evaporation goes into the clouds. Okay, so then,
Well, I think that like we do exist in the doom, and part of this community organizing, all of these fun events, all of these things bringing the joy, the human part of it. It's also to oppose AI as a spiritual warfare,
Mhm.
but it's a way to invite people in to get educated. We
Yeah.
got educated through the same
Yeah.
process. And when you throw an event and it's around something fun, it's an easy entry point for people to go into these imminent dangers
Mhm.
around them that
Mhm.
are fucking scary.
Yeah.
And it but being and finding it in community gives you more resiliency.
Yeah.
Not because, oh, hey, if you know, but it's just it's not your own individual problem. It's something that you're working on with beautiful people that you have formed
Yeah.
relationships with.
Totally.
Well, and that's the key point, working on. When you're just
Mhm.
alone in your silo of doom scroll dystopia in your little pod that you pay too much money for, you're not able to like take action in any way. And you're like, "Oh, now they're blowing up Iran and every other country. Like, what do I do?" And people just feel paralyzed and they just like don't do anything. But I think that's why for me, like focusing my energy on the things that are directly in front of my face that I do feel like I can have an impact on, lo and behold, I made an impact.
Yeah.
So like when you focus your energy on things that where you can meet up with people, where you can drive and walk and bike to their houses or meet up in convenient places, it's a lot different than being like, I'm generally fundraising for Gaza, or
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
I'm generally trying to save the oceans or the
Mm.
monkeys or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like things that are so far away from you, it's harder to have that direct connection that is rooted in place and that is rooted in tangible steps that you can make, like going to City Hall. Like people can be like, oh, that's stupid. Well, it fucking worked. And like
Yeah. Fuck
now
yeah.
the City Hall people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
We only needed one person. There's only one city council member in San Marcos. Her name is Amanda Rodriguez. That is like an honorable, trustworthy person that actually has the backs of the people. And in addition to speaking at City Hall, people can also write to their council members. We also wrote to the people on the Crystal Clear Water Board before we all went to their monthly meeting. And the only person that ever wrote back of all the city council, the mayor, and the Crystal Clear people was Amanda Rodriguez. And she's very supportive. And so in order to defeat this most recent, application of the Mayberry Cyrus One data center, there's many others that are, in the vicinity. All of this is available on Data Center Action Coalition website. They have a map of all the different data centers, and you can see about them. But we only needed one person in addition to Amanda Rodriguez to shoot this down. And we ended up getting four other people. And so that community showing of power, fun, playfulness, fish puppets, giant signs, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't, and I also, for my own signs that I painted, like plenty of other people painted their own signs, but for me, when I think about, we live in a world full of hate. We live in the global pedophilic, hellscape of multinational trafficking and destruction. But like, what are the positive messages? Because of course, when I talk about compost the system, it's like we have to have something to compost and then something has to grow out of that. And so we need to compost the system that currently exists at the same time while it's curing and like biodegrading. There's seeds popping up out of that same compost. And so we need to like do the good things at the same time. And so in the messaging, I, was talking to a lot of other people. And that's the part about community. Like at the beginning when you're like, I don't know how to introduce myself. Like you're the damn poet laureate.
I'm the poet laureate of the San Marcos AI, San Martians Against AI data centers. I'm
Beautiful.
the poet laureate,
Yeah.
yes.
But it's, like I have a background in throwing parties and doing graphic design. And so I was like, I can paint signs and get people to show up. You're like, I can use my Pisces big picture brain to like think about these phrases.
Different phrases like bye bye to AI.
Exactly.
And
Or, like keep San Marcos wet or hot girls. AI makes hot girls dry. Like I don't come up with every single phrase and execute every single thing. Everything is done in community and everyone has their different strengths and weaknesses. So that is what I believe was the true power of February 17th and why we were able to turn 4 different people's votes instead of just one. If we had only gotten 2 people, Amanda Rodriguez plus 1, it would have been shut down. But we changed the hearts and minds of 4 people that were, as far as we knew, slated to vote for it because they didn't respond to a single email the entire time that we were emailing them. And so now what has come to pass on March 3rd, when we just went back, After February 17th and the big success of that, the mayor decided to, in her last months of being the mayor, because she's not running again, she's been mayor for 12 years and been in local San Marcos city politics for 16 years. She decides now is the moment to introduce, we're actually cutting your speaking from 3 minutes to 1 minute. And we thought we were all going to go there and complain about data centers, but so 125 people, I think, signed up to speak on February 17th. And 2 weeks later, after people thought we won, and so I understand why people didn't continue to show up, still 45 people signed up to speak, and most of them were like, excuse me, Miss Ma'am, like, you're trying to limit our speech to 1 minute. And guess what? Not a single council member supported her. So there you have it. No one wants their time to be limited. And the people, like, all the other people on the council were like, no, we're going to let them have 3 minutes. Like, not every week are we having a whole bunch of people show up and, like, speak. And so, but guess what? You're going to have a lot more people now because we enjoy hanging out on the free public lawn. You've taken away our third spaces. You're draining our river anyway. And so it is free and legal to show up and speak, give a public comment, or just come and hang out, enjoy the vibe. And there's been moms that have been coming, bringing their kids, nary a dad in sight. There was a few dads, but it's mostly moms with their multiple feral children, bringing tents, bringing food, like feeding the people in the yard. Like, it's a straight up community environment over there. And so city council sees that now. They can't ignore that we're actually people. We're not just like numbers on a tax document of citizens or whatever. Like, they see that we're real people, and I see their faces change. I see the impact that we're having. And so final thing I want to say about this is that the mayor has asked now, like, the progress of like the past couple meetings, the mayor wants more information in advance. Her argument was, well, when you guys come and talk to us for hours and hours, and then we find out all this new information, and now it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're supposed to make a decision, we're tired because you guys have been talking for hours, and we need to, like, think about this in advance. And so her request is, okay, fine, if we're not going to limit y'all's time, which, by the way, it took her 7 minutes to explain why you should be able to make a point in 2 minutes. So I am once again saying, Miss Ma'am,
Yeah.
to your 1 minute, goodbye, you're almost out of office anyways. So yeah, like, if we can do research and email it to them in advance, sure. But what I'll say to city council is, acknowledge our fucking emails. You want us to do all this labor and send you all this information to get no response? Well, how do I know you even read it? So, like, they have to deal with our civil engagement because we are the civic people. We are the people. And
They're
actually,
the public servants, you know? And when I spoke, I was like, our time is worth more than your time. I'm sorry. They signed up for this.
we're not getting paid to give comment. They're getting paid to listen.
Exactly. And we spend our days doing capitalism. And then when we get off of work, we go and spend our rest of our energy parenting or fighting capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the loop that we're on. It is a psychotic, existence. Like, and it does, like, draw people away. But what I want to say about Corinne is that she's a rare type of artist that is committed not to her medium, but to social practice art already before even any of this. So that is something that you can do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can, there's narrative warfare, billions of dollars being spent on controlling what we think is going on, and our life and the richness of our cultural experience is being diminished. So what I see Corinne's work is like zhuzhing it up, showing the richness of what life, what our group wanted to do was just have something that was attractive, that would start to heal people as well, because everyone is grieving and scared about these things. So, in terms of how to combat these systems, these bureaucratic systems, which I don't know shit about. Like, I'm not the person. My role is not get on the government website and navigate in circles until you have an answer to bring to the thread, or until you're like, this is what they're actually doing, which what they're actually doing is trying to circumvent the people altogether and pass backdoor ways for these data centers that are all lining up at the door.
Well, they're doing that because they're out of money. The city is out of money, and Crystal Clear Water District is out of money. And
so they're trying to make it so that the zoning process doesn't have to pass through city council. It can just be like rubber stamped. So while we did have our win and it was a fun gathering and it did grow the movement, what I have my eye on is what's next and how do we keep these ties of all these people that made the connections there. How do you like keep those connections having opportunities to reestablish themselves?
And adjust as the things change. Like, we had spent this time being like, okay, we're gonna talk about the next data center and let them know that we don't want that. And then the mayor was like, by the way, 1 minute for speaking, and by the way, we're trying to eliminate public comment about the data centers, and we're just going to make this clause that says if you meet these requirements. They're basically trying to make a new classification in the city government called business park, because AI data centers are a new concept, and they're like, well, they don't really fit in any of our existing categories, and they're the size of an entirely new fucking city in the land of, they're hundreds of acres of land with impervious cover, which means that water can't get through. Impervious, a sidewalk, a building, anything where water cannot reach the soil, trickle down, and recharge the aquifer. So not only are they encouraging erosion and flooding and drought by paving over the land, they're also, encouraging people to just continue to use Chat GPT. And so, especially in a college town, when the whole economy of the city, 60% of people that live in San Marcos are students. And so if 60% of your voting block is not necessarily registered to vote in your county because they don't technically live here, they live in the dorm and they're registered to vote, if at all, at their parents' house, who knows where, the people that got into city council only got in by 6,000 votes. And so also by encouraging people to stay aware of the civic government and vote in local elections, like, I understand that the Democratic and Republican is basically the same thing. We live in a one-party system of pedophiles. Like, the city government are a different thing, and they are the people that are going to vote for or against an AI data center or for or against the Palestine resolution or whatever. So, it's important to know who you're voting for the city government, because some of these people are downright stupid. Okay, they introduce a motion to postpone and they don't even know like the terms of like how to do that.
Or at one point, one of the city council members was just like, "I'm sorry, I zoned out." Like,
this was
can
at
you
like
say that
1:30 in
again?
the morning.
You're like, what's going on? Like, and we're just like,
we've been up for 10 hours here waiting for you, and you're,
we didn't sleep last night because we were trying to figure out what the next move was going to be, It's exhausting. But it's also galvanizing. It's also energizing.
Yeah.
We also have more friends than we've ever had,
Yeah,
because
hell yeah.
people are like, you don't want this, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And so, the culture war element, like you were speaking about, like doing these art events is a part of the culture war. It's a part of the narrative warfare against the dominant paradigm. And when people are walking around wearing shirts that say bye-bye to AI, or you're seeing these kind of ubiquitous like images around town, you're like, oh, it's culturally uncool to use AI. That's like number one. Even though the data centers is mostly like military industrial complex and shit, or like denying people's medical claims, you know what I mean? So that people are dying by death by paperwork instead of like death by, I don't know, AI robot drone sent to your house to like pierce through your fucking window because you made a bad comment on Instagram. Like,
the inevitability of all of these different trends downward in our biosphere and in our psycho-spiritual existence, the inevitability that they try to sell us on, I question it. And AI is already taken upon that moniker, even though it's fucking 2.5 years old. Like, people are like, but it's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like, and it's the same with the depletion of our groundwater. It's like it's going down, but you're just gonna like add on top of it.
It's just gonna happen.
So I
Yeah.
just, anything that feels like that, it's kind of like, that's what we need to teach to people to question.
Subvert the
If-
dominant
if-
paradigm.
Yeah, if anything, it's
and
just
question
being
what they say is inevitable.
presented as inevitable. Be like,
yeah.
who's benefiting from you believing that it's going to be inevitable?
Yeah, totally. Hell yeah.
Motherfucker.
That's who.
And so it's a failure of the imagination.
Mm.
So if you can present people with another view of the imagination, not even something new, something that they know in their Homo sapien soul, body, mind, spirit that they've inherited, from times when people used to just gather around things, and people were sharing food and being on that lawn in that space probably thousands of years ago. And not my ancestors, but someone else's ancestors were probably hanging out there too. And
I mean, City Hall is inches away from Spring Lake, which is
Yeah.
narrowly, quote unquote, protected by a thin layer of dying cypress trees. And then there's a giant sports field where they're putting some kind of chemical fertilizer in it. And so it's just, the fight to protect the river is so complex because it's being encroached upon from all angles. And then the ever increasing impervious cover of the mega region. And then people are like, I wonder why the floods are so bad. I wonder why there's no pollinators. It's like, you fucking paved over it all.
But
that's why.
If we can give people reminders and have these touchstones of events. Oh, I went to city council once and it was a beautiful moment where I cried, and it was community and it was spontaneous. Then you can get closer to people getting kinship with these rivers. Then you could get people having kinship just generally to a functioning biosphere. And
or realizing they're not alone and that they can affect change with their fellow humans because they have fellow humans. If there's no third place and there's no local viable cause for people to rally behind, they're just going to stay in their little fucking Amazon Walmart bubble.
But we should know that self-policing is what they intend when they over-criminalize organizing, and when they over-criminalize people for doing demonstrations, such as the Prairieland prisoners. But there's over-criminalization happening, and they aren't trying to they aren't there to win the lawsuits that are going to challenge them. They're there to make us self-police. So in whatever ways you can try to mine your life and be like, how am I self-policing myself in terms of these social movements? And how am I making these assumptions about inevitability, and or just saying well, when people do this and that, it doesn't really make a difference. Well, it does in different ways. It radiates in all directions. You might have a municipal lose, but the winds are radiating, still.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying about the compost is going down at the same time that the seeds are coming up. There's so many data centers planned for this region, and there's already one being built in San Marcos. It's called Cloudburst. But I also heard that they, during the week leading up to all this stuff, that they're workers were not seen on site for a week. And they're basically afraid of losing their permit, because if they do go into stage 4 drought at any point, I'm sure that would retroactively be you actually can't build that data center that was going to suck all this water, because the whole point of the crystal clear special utility district that manages the water for this general area is that they have to get the water from somewhere to give to their existing customers in order to approve new building permits. And that's what Ruben Becerra was trying to do. He wasn't trying to just say AI data center moratorium. He was trying to pass a moratorium on all large-scale industrial projects that were going to be water intensive. And for me, yes, that's great, but we also need to limit impervious cover. We also need to limit huge construction projects and industries that are about to fucking bust. So that's the thing, is that the fight is as much for water as it is for land, air, and culture, because all of these things are interconnected, and we are the people that actually live here. These developers, BlackRock, all these huge companies that are standing to profit off of this, they're not even citizens. And they had at these meetings, whenever the data center guys were there trying to win over city council, they had all these people in orange shirts that were from the union. They were promised, we're going to get these jobs. They were obviously paid actors. And what happened this most past week that just went by, where we went to City Hall 2 weeks after the initial big win? Not a single orange shirt in sight. And so that's part of the reason why we went from 125 people signed up to speak to 40 people signed up to speak, Because there's probably 20 people at least right off the top that don't fucking live here, that were paid by the developers to come speak and say, we want the data center because this would provide jobs for us. And they were saying, oh, this is going to provide jobs for us for 3 years. Y'all seriously think there's going to be fucking water and AI and all of this is not going to be changed in 3 years' time? You think that they're just going to, like, we're not going to be in stage 4 drought in 3 years by the time this hypothetical building would hypothetically be finished? Like, and then what? You're going to turn this into an ICE detention building? Because what the fuck can you put in a building, a multi acre building that was supposed to have data processing shit with no windows? What else can you put in that building besides a concentration camp? It's useless real estate.
And that's the thing that's very inspiring to see across the country as people stand up against these AI data centers, is that, everyone has their entry point into social um, fights and social movements. And oftentimes, from my experience, you start out with one entry point and then you go into other. It leads you because your heart starts to make these connections and you start to understand the intersectionality of it. And so that's what's really cool to see. Well, it's not cool. I wish it wasn't, but like AI is literally like the Wetiko that the Native Americans like spoke about, this like vampiric demonic, it's the highest point of that. Like it's basically whiteness,
Mm,
and colonialism, but it is the biggest like consumer. It just sucks everything into it,
mm,
including like human spirits
damn.
and it's culture. And so no matter what lens you put on, there's a case against it. And whether it's the surveillance state, whether it's ICE and the Palantir, the imperial boomerang of this technology coming back home and that we use in other places, or whether it's just your run of the mill grandma's like water rights, you know what I mean? Like, which there is a strong movement in this area. People have been fighting for these waters for a long time in this area. So that is an advantage, and that's a reason why we can mobilize a lot of people, because you don't that's an easier entry point than, say, military industrial. Hey guys, you want to organize a community to help fight like the largest military that's ever, you know what I mean?
Even though
Like,
that's kind of what it is in a way, because we're fighting AI data centers and AI is ICE. And so, one thing I want to say, based on what you just mentioned, was that in addition to the river being a really unifying thing, water affects all people. And so, the cross cultural, cross age solidarity, there was on this past Tuesday night, March 3rd, there was almost as many children in the lawn as there were adults. And so the kids are also having these memories of, like, remember when we were all sitting on top of the city hall sign holding a banner? Like, these children are the future, quite literally. And the kids that are coming to City Hall, they're not iPad kids. They're the kids that are being raised by intelligent parents, and these kids still have a soul intact. And so showing these children, you got everyone from kids ripping their shirt off, covering their body and say no to AI stamps, to a literal like guy, an old boomer man with a cane that has a traumatic brain injury and has a hat that says military police, coming up and talking about how he's been worked for the military, every 3-letter organization, FBI, CIA, yada yada, doing surveillance in the 70s before we had all this shit. And so he's like, I know where this is going and I don't fucking want this. And so when you mobilize the military veterans and the children and the moms and the artists and everyone, yeah, it's going to be a fucking problem, city council, and you are going to have to listen to us talk. So, AI is not the golden goose that's going to save this city or any city. And the fact that cities are in a budget deficit because of their poor spending, they're trying to make us pay for it in our electricity bill. They're trying to make us pay for it by dumbing down the population and having all the students write their essays with ChatGPT. And I think that the biggest best thing to come out of this, besides obviously shooting down developers, is that people are like, oh, you hate AI, you hate AI, you see the problem with this, and the people are putting the pieces together that, like, we outnumbered them. And so that is power, to the point of the podcast title.
Would either of y'all ever consider running for office?
Hell no.
That's funny because in all of this, like, all of these like circles that have been forming around this, and there's so much like love amongst everyone because everyone's just so smart and
We're
like
like, you
putting,
should run. You should
yeah,
run. And
yeah,
everyone's
and
like,
everyone's like,
no,
hell no,
no,
hell
no.
no. But you know,
Why not?
You only get paid $17,000 a
Holy
year.
shit. Really?
Yeah, you still have to have a job. I think the
Okay.
mayor is probably the
which
only.
does limit who the people. You have to be
Yeah,
independently
that's
wealthy
so
already.
fucked.
So who's making these decisions?
Yeah.
No, Amanda Rodriguez, I don't think is independently wealthy. I think that people have to have a day job,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
this.
what day job can you neglect for part of your time and have another whole
Yeah.
part
Yeah, that's hard.
time obligation?
Where every 2 weeks you have to meet at 3 p.m. and who
Yeah.
knows what else they have to do.
I'm just saying there's class limits to that.
Implications, yeah.
But it does suck that only mostly crappy people are running, because when you think about only 6,000 people are voting, and what had happened is last year there was 2 people, Amanda Rodriguez and a guy named Saul Gonzalez. Well, he got voted out in this past election year for a guy named Josh Poselick, who is a local construction developer kind of guy. And so, of course, he was like, well, I want the AI data centers because I am a developer. And after all of our passionate testimonials, he voted it down with a smile on his face. And then at the end of the night at like 3:00 in the morning, he was like, guys, I really hope that this doesn't mean that they're going to approve the other data centers nearby, because this could have been our golden goose. And I really hope that this isn't going to come back to bite us in the ass. And I'm like, bro, you think a fucking data center that's going to suck all of our water is going to be the golden goose that saves our economy? Like,
I think there are
No.
going to be candidates that come out of this because
Yeah.
it is a winning issue for people, and I want people on city council to be putting revenue stream ideas in that are actually rehydrating our aquifers. It's possible, and these are the things that we think are inevitable. Oh, commerce, these, it's only possible just to suck and extract, but we can't have initiatives that will actually like reinvest water into our depleting savings of water. And as far as running for city council, like there are some new candidates, and I think that it would be really cool to see more water stewards on city councils. But right from the very top, I mean, Texas, even though it has this myth of being like this individual, don't tread on me, blah blah blah, it's an authoritarian state. It's a top-down run from Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton. And the reason why they aren't these little utility districts and municipalities aren't sticking their necks out is because Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's a criminal, will sue them, and they are all enabling this this boom of development of AI data centers in our place where we live. And so yes, the city fights are important, but the broader picture I think is going to involve everyone like us getting together across the region and really making it something that the everyday person is aware of, and giving those people opportunities to engage in movements against it.
one thing on that note that I want to say too, just thinking about the candidates, the possible candidates, right now at the like national politic level, basically, if you take money from APAC, like, we're not voting for you. It's gonna be the same vibe if you support AI data centers and you're trying to run for a city position. If you don't outright say, I am against this and I have plans to like shut this down, we're not gonna vote for you. Because we see all the baby back bitches that run for office for their own personal desires, clout, money, whatever the fuck it may
Corruption.
be. Yeah, myriad reasons
Yeah.
besides helping the people of San Marcos, which is what I believe Amanda Rodriguez actually deeply cares about. So, I mean, I'm personally, but again, and we're like, oh, Amanda for mayor. That doesn't mean that Amanda wants to be the mayor. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I don't know who is going to run in these things, because, again, when you think about the fact that 60% of the people that live here are students, they ain't running. Then you think about, well, who's the other people that live in San Marcos? It's a bunch of Austin expats like us and most of our friends. and a bunch of old people that live in this community called Kissing Tree, which apparently is like a huge portion of the voting block is in this like retirement, this kind of more like not upper class. There's not that many like rich people in San Marcos, which is why I love it. Um, but they represent this older mentality, but they also go out to vote. And so we've been like, okay, none of us are going to run for office, but we need more people to get out to vote, but we need more young people to get out to vote, but we also need the city council people to be outspoken against the data centers. So as it stands now, we're in a holding pattern while the city like gets more information. Every delay is a win though, because the more that we delay, the more likely that we're going to be able to declare stage 4 drought and just put the kibosh on this whole shit. And I think that culturally, people, especially just in the past week, like, okay, OpenAI or Chat GPT, I don't know. It was well, maybe it's the same thing, but like, basically, Anthropic was like, no, U.S. government, we're not gonna like let you use our fucking AI to go kill people without human oversight. And OpenAI was like, I don't care.
We'll do it.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
So I think that like
Yeah.
people are generally becoming more aware of the evils of it, and remaining neutral about it is just not really an option. But I mean, people love to remain neutral. Look around. There's a lot of neutral ass bitches out here, but I think that water is just so unifying that it's making people get
Yeah.
engaged
Especially when you can see the stream beds drying up. It's like really obvious that things have changed. Like anybody that's lived here for years, yeah, you can just walk around and be like, this used to be a river. I can tell.
Yeah, what
And
are
now
the
it's
ones
not.
that you know of? Because there was Blue Hole.
Well, I used to live next to a place called Jacob's Well,
Or oh yeah.
and that's an amazing cold water spring that used to come up like a geyser, and it's gone zero flow, you know, at different points in the year now, and that was only starting a few years ago
Yeah.
because of overdevelopment of the watershed there.
Well, and there was
And
something
there's
about Aqua Texas.
Aqua Texas is a private water provider to these developments, and they just budget in the extra millions of fines that they get from
Yep.
overpumping the aquifer. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And and they've done it all over Texas too. They are getting the red carpet and the green light from Greg Abbott from all the way up the top at the TCEQ and the Railroad Commission. They built natural gas pipelines all through this area, and now these data centers are tapping into them. So it's a lot. It's a behemoth, and maybe I'm foolish, and maybe I'm idealistic, and maybe I'm just a buffoon, but somehow I'd rather do something about it.
Yeah.
And in terms of the children, like we want to be parents that if the future we're seeing tragically does come to fruition, I want to be able to my child to know that her parents were like trying to do something.
Yeah.
There's way bigger sacrifices that we could be making, obviously, and we come from a place of privilege to even be like
Having time to organize.
or yeah, having time to organize or you know, feeling like safe enough to stick our necks out.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, like we're not afraid of being deported because we're white, and so we can do things that other people might not literally feel safe leaving the house to go do and put their face and their name and all that.
So in terms of this behemoth, what makes me engage is just it's been a long process to metabolize the grief and the despair of it all, but just a basic vow and commitment to not remain passive and to take on the mantle of all of this information and try to act, even if it's small, even if it's just find my role in this great turning that they call it, and just do my best to fulfill that role, as well as my other roles. And that takes like a triage process because, but once you go through certain stages of grief, you become ready to act and you become ready to like connect with others. That's the most healing part of any of this, that of anything that I've fought for, is just the healing of the connective
Yeah.
presence of being with the other people, that you don't have to explain why,
Mhm.
and you're not pulling out your hair trying to be like,
Yeah.
but you don't understand.
Mhm.
To just be among like 5 or 10 or 15 or 500 people like that,
Yeah.
it fills you back up. It fills up your spirit that has been drained through social media
Totally.
and 24-hour news.
Yeah.
Especially when everyone has something different to contribute. Like when other people are like, "Oh, I'll go pick this up or I'll do this thing." I'm like, "Thank God." Because I'm so used to like doing everything, being the boss and like doing whatever. If I'm doing a project, like I'm usually in charge of it, and to just be involved in like a non-hierarchical group of, and not even that like a group like, oh, we're in pulling the strings behind the scenes. Like, no, a community, like the mom group, the scientist group, the art group, like all of the groups overlapping in the the city hall lawn to accomplish things. That's why they say it takes a village, because someone has to make the food, someone has to paint the signs, someone has to read the agenda and understand like what are we even coming to speak about. And so when you connect to your purpose, it's kind of like you're saying that grief is like the Ouroboros, and like when you get to the end, like the tail where you're shitting out the grief, it like feeds you,
And that might be
and you're
foolish, and
like,
that might be me just being an idiot. But
hey, if the grief turd of eternal suffering can propel you.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to be a buffoon, y'all. Just get engaged. Just stick your neck out,
Yeah.
and if you fall on your face, you probably will. But it's an opportunity to learn.
And if you don't want to stick your neck out, stick out a puppet's neck. I don't mind. You can't take me to jail, people. Sheeple. But seriously, though, you have to make it fun, because when it's boring, people are not wanting to show up because they could just look at AI pictures at home. But if they could see a real life puppet, maybe even be loved.
Oh, nice. Steamy over here.
The revolution is sexy, people. Come
Which
on.
Corinne did say, which made the entire city council erupt in laughter. She said, if you guys let this data ever happen, we're all going to go home and we're going to be in deep grief and sorrow. But if you don't let it go, people are going to get laid tonight. And everyone just erupted.
I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah.
Everyone erupted. Yep. No, but it's true. And like, I did see love connections happening, and I do see people in friendships and all of this blossoming. And so that's what I'm trying to say, is that like, ultimately this shit fucking sucks so bad. Get the megaphone. It sucks so bad. But like, also the beautiful parts are so beautiful. And like, that's the inevitability that I'm going to invest in. What would it look like if we won? And
Or what could possibly go right is something that we come back to a lot in our thinking.
And when we thought, okay, we just got to get one person, no one had imagined what could possibly go right is that our pure-hearted efforts of love would yield 4 people to change their vote. And so that's why when I think about like the messaging and encouraging other people in their own movement, in their own place, because there's going to be more movements and more fights and more stuff, but like, not to be like corny, like love and light, but like, think about, dream into what could possibly go right. And that's why I made signs that say, keep San Marcos wet. Imagine a wet future. Like, these are all the things that we're like bringing in. Like, yes, I have the signs that say no data centers, blah, blah, blah. But like, also I made one that says the mayor is trying to silence us. So, we need to react.
City Council simps for BlackRock.
Yeah, that sign went missing somehow. I wonder if Mayberry took
It
it.
was BlackRock.
They came.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be fun, because life is already so fucking depressing that if you're not inviting someone to do something fun, they're like, no thanks, I'm just gonna be over here. And so I do think that it's possible, but it does take people identifying their strengths, identifying what they are resourced enough to be able to show up and do. Even if you're really good at policy, you might be like, I actually do policy for a living and I can't do that, but I am down to like paint signs, or I am down to like make deliveries or send emails. And so pick a lane, people. Like, there's a lot. They're building multi-lane highways. We can build multi-lane fucking revenue or streams of
Threads.
Threads of mutual aid and like connection.
Yeah, the revolution will not be individualized. It's like, you gotta find your people, make it fun, and kind of I like how y'all kind of built the community around the movement first. It was like less so focused on like policy fight and more so focused on like let's just have a party and just transmute the party into it being a city council meeting, and then we're all it that like keeps the environment going, and then now everyone has that in their mind as like what organizing feels like. It maybe I'm sure for a lot of people that was probably their first time getting
Oh
like
yeah.
organizing in that way. So that's the template that's been set for them now, right? And so then now that will translate into other experiences they have, and also like what they can expect out of taking action in a local context. So nice model.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, this is the first time I've ever been to a protest, which I was
Yeah.
like, LOL, this isn't really a protest. But it felt like a protest because
Yeah.
we were protesting City Hall ignoring us. I also made a sign that says ignoring your constituents is weird behavior. Because after a year of multiple different meetings of people being like, how many different ways can we say no? Like, it's fucking weird that you guys are ignoring us because we vote for you, we pay your salaries, and you're the one that fucked this budget. And now you're asking us to like take soiled air, water, and all this pollution so that you can still continue to fuck the budget? Like, no. We already have a fuck situation at the very top.
For a little bit of revenue that they're probably going to get exempt tax status immediately once they finish construction on their data center. So
Also, if you're just a general PSA, if you're a lonely person out there and you want to meet cool people, find some shit that is local to your area that is, surrounded with other passionate people and become a part of it. It's like we live in such an atomized time, and that's by design. Like the people that own the platforms that rot our brains all want us to be atomized because they want us to not do things like this, and they don't want us to know that we have the power to influence the world, and that doing it together is the only way. Like it's all built into this the design of the system, and they profit off of it. And so that is to say, like, if you feel atomized in the world, those of you listening out there, find someone that is doing something real, tangible, passion driven, that is driven by love, and then you will find the people that will probably love you too. Because if you actually commit yourself to the movement, and if you actually show up for them, and then don't just do it because you're trying to get laid or whatever, like you need to show up with an actual purpose behind it. But it's like, yeah, like just because I feel that in myself sometimes too. Just like there are times where I feel lonely, and it's just like what I feel I've very much have felt at times to be, I understand the headspace of the quote unquote male loneliness epidemic at times. Like I feel atomized and I feel invisible to the world a lot of the times. So things like this are the antidote. And then also it allows you to feel more powerful. It allows you to take control of your future, because that's what's being taken away from us. And like, on the internet, you see so many narratives around, like, if you're in the algorithms of the like leftist radical politics, whatever, like, oh, like democracy is corrupt, and there's nothing we can do, and everything's already cooked, and like the only way to forward is Maoist revolution. Which, I mean, like, sure, maybe we'll get there at some point, but like if we're talking about where we are now, like just today, like think about who are our enemies, right? Like what kind of power do our enemies want, right? Why do they want that power? And then why are we deliberately ceding the ground to them? Why are we just being like, oh, well, no, that's all. That's never. I can never be part of that system. That's all fuck. I'll just let you guys. Like, you're just giving them what they want by doing that. So even if you aren't interested in running for office, which I recommend, like, I would love if you're some like random like crusty anarchist out there, become sheriff. Figure out how to become sheriff.
Wash your clothes and become a sheriff.
Yeah, wash your clothes first, because like, well,
shave your dreads.
Yeah,
or your
exactly. Like,
locks.
do what you gotta do.
Dread
But
mullet.
like the conservatives did do this, like, because throughout, over the course of like the civil rights movement, like, as they began to see like, oh, we're actually not the majority in this country. Like we actually, like, we need to build in systems that will keep us in power, because, and it helps because they're backed by billionaires. But like there was a deliberate decades-long campaign by the conservatives to build themselves into government, because they started to slowly realize like, oh, we don't actually run this country, right? And so they did that. And so like national politics, the American system, obviously, like the history of how America came to be, deeply fucked, like no argument there. But the system exists, right? Like whether or not we think the origins of it are bad, like it exists, it will continue to exist, because that's what systems of power do. They self-perpetuate, right? And like I am deeply skeptical that any organization that exists today would ever be able to like overthrow the government. They have nukes. They have autonomous drones. They have fucking horrors beyond our wildest imagination that they own, and they so like, starting a militant group with all your friends in the woods with AK-47s and like taking over the White House, not gonna happen. But but the system can be dismantled from within, right? Like you can gain power over it, you can weasel your way into it somehow, and then you can figure out how to disarm the most threatening parts of it. Is that a crazy, extremely difficult, borderline impossible dream? Yes, but fuck it. Like we're here, we exist we don't like life's too short just to dream about stupid little things that will never happen. It's like actually figure out how to take power over the system, how to actually exert the change that you do want to see in the world. Do not allow yourself to feel helpless, because that is what your enemies want you to feel.
Yeah, and I think it's not far fetched. And the only thing I want to add is that we aren't going to win by having power over the system. We need to have power with our system, the human system, which already exists. We've been finding our own power together for millions of years.
Mhm.
Or hundreds of thousands of years. I don't know where do you think it started? I think it goes even further.
It definitely does.
But so that is what we've forgotten. It in all cultural renaissances, quote unquote, or blossoming of human civilization, it can be lost very quickly over less than a generation, and that's what's happened with us. We've been disembodied from Earth, and it's been fairly quick since the industrial growth society began, and we need to harness our power with and within ourselves. We can't fight the nukes, but I hold in my heart of hearts that they're going to fall on their face and destroy themselves, as most do.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we need to do harm reduction and make sure that we have our own networks of kinship and power ready. We're just going to start existing as if that's our support system. Because the sooner we can do that, the sooner we can become non-reliant on them and have a future, even if it's a meager existence, because the base of the biosphere has been degraded too far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, speaking to people power, like, look what happened to Target. Look what happened to Starbucks. Like, these places are literally being put out of business because people are like, I do not support you. And so imagine all the energy. Like, for example, February 17th, that was Mardi Gras Day. And think about all the people that had been partying for weeks on end in New Orleans, like hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of, I don't know how many people go to Mardi Gras or like participate in Mardi Gras, but like all of that energy just to like have fun and wear single use costumes. And like Mardi Gras, I get it. I've done it many times, but just I don't know, there was something about the poetry of like how that used to be my life's like focus and religion, and now my life's focus and religion is literally San Marcos River, and like how I was able to use my party throwing costume ass shaking past to like do something that actually like literally be an almost $2 billion data center. And like, not that it's all of me, but I'm just saying that like I threw my full creative power at this, and I didn't do anything illegal. I literally painted signs, took pictures with businesses, and went to City Hall. Like, we don't hopefully need to resort to all of these like illegal sabotage things if we can have people power to boycott, divest, speak up, and challenge the power systems and be like, no, we're actually not going to let you do that. Like, people need to think there's so much that can be done that is actually fun before we even need to like think illegal thoughts, because they want you to be thinking illegal thoughts. Man, they want to get you. But if you're like, okay, motherfucker, you can't get me for painting a sign and going out and like actually talking to people in my community and getting other people to show up. It's not illegal to like have people show up at City Hall. In fact, it's literally the whole point of City Hall and why they have public comment. So that's where I want people to get creative. It's what can I do, but also what can I not do? how much can I not use fossil fuel? How much can I not use social media? How much can I not do all these evil things? And then what do I do with my time when I'm not doing that? Like, if I used to look at the phone for 2 hours and just doom scroll, well, what if I looked at policy for 2 hours and then like communicated that to people in the community and was like, hey, do with this information what you will? It's kind of like, there's the whole thing like hurting men's feelings by saying what they did, which is just saying shitty behavior that men did and then they have to suffer consequences. But like, pointing out the things that the city government did, hurting the city's feelings by pointing out the policy documents they didn't want you to see. You know what I mean? Like, oh, your feelings are hurt that you had to stay up past your bedtime and hear us try to fucking save the soul of our town. Like, sorry about it, lady. Like, you didn't have to be the fucking mayor, but unfortunately I do need to like put all my life force energy into fighting this because somebody got to do it. And it's not going to be the city and it's not going to be the fucking state. And so that's why if the water runs out, if they bomb us, if they do all this shit, who you going to call? Not Mayor Jane. You're going to call your friends that hey AI. You're going to call your friends that do mutual aid and have organized against ICE or whatever the fucking horror du jour is. And those are the people that are going to show up because the shit's going to go down and we're still going to live here. Everyone can't fucking escape to Mexico. Everyone can't fly away. You know what I mean? Like, we're in this mess. Unfortunately, our country is run by the stupidest person to ever walk this earth. And there will be someone after him. This too shall pass. Like, there will be, maybe hopefully there won't be a 48. Maybe we'll just call it quits at 250 years and 47, we're done.
I can't wait for 4th of July this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be something.
But there is a different future alternative, and it's in our mind's eye, and it's in our hands, and it's in our hearts, and it takes community action to think about it and say, yes, please tell me your dream. What could possibly go right? Normalize asking your friends what could possibly go right. Don't know how you been. You've been like shit. Everyone has been like shit. What could possibly go right? Let's focus our energy on the seeds that are growing because the compost heap, there's a lot getting added onto it. And I think, we need to let this compost heap sit for 250 years while some other seeds grow.
Amen. Yeah, I'm all about the compost analogies. It's a central part to my my cosmology as well as the compost the rich.
I know, I saw that.
Okay, so that brings us, basically to the end of the discussion. This has been really powerful and interesting. I appreciate y'all's time. We need more people in the world like the two of you. So be that person, if you're out there, just be like, hey, damn, they seem so cool and like they've got a community and like they've, are passionate and
get yourself a puppet, people.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't hurt you, I promise.
The horrors continue, but I, remain whimsical. So that's the energy that we need, and much love to the both of you. And I very much admire, what you're doing here. And yes, so one of the final questions that I come back to, we've been kind of circling around it this whole time, but we all live in such a state of just like paralysis and doom, and it's just this black cloud hanging over our heads all the time. It's just like sometimes I try to imagine like what would I feel like if like climate change just like wasn't a thing, just imagining that world, like how different would my day-to-day experience be? And for some people that is the world they live in, which is really fucking crazy. It's like just try to but anyways, do y'all think, like, where do you think this is going? How do you think this will end? How, like, are we cooked? Is humanity cooked? Do you think that we will find a way out of this? Like, what do you see is going to happen, like, within, say, our lifetimes?
My mind, most of the matter inside of my head is just a turbulent swirl of this question happening all the time.
Good. Sounds healthy.
Mixing with my like idealism and like naivety and knowledge and wisdom and old souledness. So I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know, but what I do know is that I'm a human.
Yeah.
And that my human faculties are going to be what can be relied upon in order to feel better, in order to rise above, and in order to adapt to whatever the fuck is coming down the pike, which a lot's coming down the pike real fast.
Yep.
but at the same time, there's this like numb, just kind of like normalness to like,
Yep. Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
American
Capitalism grinds
culture.
on. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hyper normalization is here.
Yeah.
Yes. So, you know, that is a chronic traumatization that we
Yeah.
all carry.
Totally.
And
Moral injury.
yeah, it's a moral injury.
Yeah.
And I commend you for having a podcast based around this question because it's truly the ecosystem. It's our biological like niche. Like that's how our nervous system is responding to the biological niche of our culture. You know, the phone is our niche. When you don't have your phone, you're lost in the woods. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't know where your resources are. So I don't fucking know where we're going, but everything so far, everything that the climate scientists has said is going to happen is happening. The wars, the weather, everything. So take heed, and get the skills
prepare
and
now.
prepare. Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally, I mean, we have many psychic brainwave connections, but I was literally just going to be like, get some skills. I think what's going to happen is that sadly, a lot of people are going to die. And even more sadly, a lot of land and animals are going to die who had nothing to do with this. And that part I grieve for just as much because talk about innocent. I mean, a lot of the humans are going to die, but humans have also like done hell of evil stuff.
We've been driving 100 miles an hour, like blasting rock and roll on the
Yeah.
highways.
And so it's just like, what did a fucking dragonfly do?
Yeah.
What did the fish do? Like
Yeah.
they didn't do anything. And so I mourn the loss of life at scale, and also like human beings, get it the fuck together. Like lock into something that matters because you have been locked into celebrity culture and now you know that everything you've ever been told is a complete lie told by pedophiles. So scrub everything you've ever met or you've ever known, ignore all previous instructions because the new world is happening whether we like it or not. But what are you going to add to it? Are you just going to be like, I'm just going to keep shopping on Temu until the end, I'm just going to stockpile rice? Bitch, rice is not going to save you. Like you need to, yeah, some people need to learn how to shoot guns. Some people need to learn how to dig root cellars so that we can preserve what little crops we have. A lot more people need to learn how to harvest rainwater, compost their poop, and like build giant compost piles to generate hot water because the shit is going down and we're not going to in our lifetime, I'm sorry, in the next fucking 6 months. Like the shit that's going down in the wars right now. I was reading this morning about how like ammonia is one of the main things that's used to fertilize crops, and like a large amount of that comes from the Middle East. And if they're shutting down like shipping and all of these things, like basically it was saying that like the food, like the crops that don't get planted and fertilized now, we're going to feel that in September at the grocery store. And so the more that people can ditch the illusion of celebrity and two-party system and all these lies that men are protectors and all this shit that you've been told that's obviously not true, like get with the people that still have a soul intact. Find the people that have been saying free Palestine all this time because they were right. Find the people that have been, you know, going off grid, not just the people that are like, I bought a bunch of solar panels on Amazon and like now I don't have to be on the grid. Okay, acknowledge the children in Africa that die so that you can have solar panels. You know what I mean? Like be aware of your local fights and be aware of the global resources that allow your off-grid lifestyle and stuff.
Your
and
nomad, what's it called?
Digital nomad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly. How many people had to die so that you could send an email from the fucking Grand Canyon? Like, to be completely honest. And so, yeah, like that is why I built this little house. That is why I live the way I live, because I already know that the shit is going down and I want to be preemptive and I want to have skills. I want to know how to chop wood and grow food and bury my poop and all this uncomfortable stuff. But you know what's more uncomfortable than having to bury your poop once a month? Not having any water to drink. And so if I can not shit in clean water, because 30% of the water in domestic use is for flushing the toilet. That is disgusting. That is way more disgusting than burying your poop. Okay, think about it. So we all have to get proactive. And whenever people are like, oh, whatever, black pill me, like I'm too depressed to make any fucking choices, I'm burnt out. Well, Imagine how you're burnt out you're going to be when there's no matcha latte. Imagine how burnt out you're going to be when you can't jump off on the 115 fucking degree day in the San Marcos River because it's just rocks. Like, think in the future who's your Mad Max icon or like player. I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't play video games, so I'm not good with video game lingo, but like, what player are you going to be in the water wars? Like, put that outfit on today because we're in the water wars now.
Your ancestors need y'all to lock in.
Yeah.
Lock in,
Lock the
people.
fuck in, guys.
Yeah, wherever your ancestors were from, they were from Earth, okay? So we're still on Earth and we're still living by Earth's planetary boundaries, which we just fucking don't acknowledge, much like the president and cabinet and all of the people in government don't acknowledge the boundaries of women. And so, yesterday we were talking about this concept of the Earth has revoked her abundance. And when I think about what's going on with all this Epstein stuff, women have revoked our abundance as well. And that's why we're in the male loneliness epidemic, because we don't trust men anymore. And it's because they're the ones that are in government. Who are all the people throwing bombs at each other? It's all the men that are running these countries that are old as fuck. And so we don't have to live by the old man's rules. The old men are blowing themselves up, okay? Like, the young people are going to inherit the earth, and we're still young. Like, we have a lot of resentments towards boomers. Like, I just wanted to also comment on something you said earlier about I want my child to know that I fought. Like, when I look at our parents, I don't see people fighting. I see people holding resources in their bunkers and like being like, I sure hope you guys figure that out. Like, that I don't want to tell that to the children in the lawn of City Hall. I want to be like, what ideas do you guys have? We're all doing this together. And go, come on, military police cat man, come on, have the conversation. Like, that's what community is. A clique is a bunch of people that like the same things and they hang out together in their little insular group. A community is people of all age, race, background, demographics, beliefs, because we all drink water and we all live in community together. And so it just might be the guy that you thought was your like horrible racist neighbor that actually has the ATV to fucking save your ass when there's a tornado and a tree gets knocked down in your driveway or something. So like, diversify your imagination of community and diversify the way that you feel like you can engage. And if you don't know how to engage, take a goddamn class. Like, get a skill, tag along behind someone else and learn what they do, because no one's going to share their vegetables with you when you don't have anything to contribute, when the grid goes down. So apocalypse skills are for yourself, but they're also for your community. Like, wouldn't you rather be an asset to the community than a vampire? Just saying.
Okay, and just so you know, I mean, I'm just gonna brag a little bit here. Since I became aware of the doom, when I guess it was. I mean, I've always had the punk rock upbringing, but I have channeled it into reading books. Okay, I've learned how to grow food, keep bees, use the scythe, community organize, hierarchical decision making. On all these things give me like padding for my soul, and it's like, okay, I've got these things though.
Yeah.
I still need more. I still feel this urgent need to like understand more and master these things. I mean, I say I've learned these things, but like these are things I try to like memorize and internalize for, in case I needed the knowledge. Seed keeping. So those skills, although they're rooted in a place of panic and despair, are actually like warm, cozy places for me to go to when I need them. So
Well, they're equally rooted in life and abundance. Like you had said, like, well, if you didn't have to think about climate change, what would you think about? I would still be thinking about the exact same things. I would still be
Exactly.
thinking about art, community, not shitting in clean water.
Flowers,
Exactly.
food.
Like, I have the same interests under capitalism or not under capitalism. Unfortunately, I have to do capitalism to make money to pay for all this stuff. But that's why I'm saying, like, find your role in community outside of capitalism. Because I only spent $20 on this whole campaign to, like, stop the data centers. I spent $10 on some ink and $10 on printing some posters. Okay? I spent 3 weeks of my labor, which is worth way more. But the fact that we like beat multi-billion-dollar data centers with literally cardboard and like $20 of flyers, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's possible, but it needs unity and it needs people to be coming from this place of, what was the Joanna Macy thing about your grief shows your love for the world?
Yeah. Like turning your grief, reframing all of these things.
Yeah.
So once again, eat the grief out of your own snake shit and directly into your mouth. You've already processed it, and now it's coming out, and so
Well, you might need. We are in a continual need to process it because it keeps unfolding and escalating. So keep processing, keep grieving, keep learning, but turn it into something else. Turn it into love and action.
And every time the fight is different. Like, if we've spoken now 5 times in San Marcos about the AI data centers, every time it was a different thing. Every time I took a different approach. Every time we had different information. And as time goes on, it is going to change because the situation is going to change. The laws are going to change. The cultural vibe is going to change. And so, you know, ride that wave in the right direction. Like the wave of despair only goes to the bottom of the river where you're just going to be laying on hot rocks. Like ride the wave of positive energy and don't just spend all your energy fighting, spend your energy also doing all these things off the list. Growing food, making plans with your same friends. If you're doing any kind of political organizing against things, do the same or more work organizing what you're for. Get community garden projects going. Like, just because we beat the AI data centers doesn't mean like, yay, we're all good. No, we still live in the fucking hellscape run by pedophiles. So I think that, like, in some way you were saying, oh, well, we can't just be on the internet all day, yada, yada. But, like, we did use the internet.
Yeah.
We did use the master's tools to dismantle the master's plan right there.
Totally.
And also, that's what I was saying about boycott and divestment. There's so much we can do to, like, ghost the patriarchy, make the thing obsolete by divesting our resources and energy. Like, when everyone was blocking celebrities a few years ago, it seems trivial, but like that is blocking their ability to influence and capitalize on us. So get new idols, find new people, like community organizers.
Let me just bring up Robin Greenfield. You've been a big inspiration to us. Brad Lancaster, yep. Yes. Who else? Joanna Macy, rest in peace.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, definitely Brad Lancaster, Rainwater Harvesting on Dry Lands. If you read one book, read that. I mean, there are so many things we can do by just getting a jackhammer and cutting a little curve, cut in the concrete and letting the water divert downhill into growing plants on your street. Like, that is fucking fun community work right there. And then you get to have fruit trees lining your street. And so that's where, like, knowing your neighbors and being able to share resources in community, it ultimately leads to fun because eventually you're gonna, like, plan fun things as well together.
Would you say that, finding ways to harness natural resources, finding ways to tap into your own strengths, finding ways to enrich the landscape that you live in, and like interface with it in a way that's more generative and not in a way that's just inherently extractive. Would you say that that's a way that's living power first in the?
Yeah, we call it life ways because it's not just like lifestyle. It's like the ways that we actually live our life.
Totally.
The sacrifices we make, the luxuries we create for ourselves, like, there are plenty, you can find luxuries in simple ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and redefining what you think of as rich. I mean, we don't have a lot of money, but we do have a lot of freedom with
we do have a clawfoot tub next to our fire pit that we take luxurious baths in because we save 30% of our water because we shit in composting toilets. So there we go.
Exactly. It doesn't seem so disgusting to bury your poop when you know that you can be taking hot baths by the fire. Now, does it? So it's just everything that you take away, it's an opportunity for something else to happen with your time, with your resources, whatever. And so, yeah, we have to ultimately fight the powers that think they are, because they are in control of things and they do think that we're going to pay them taxes even though we're not. So yeah, like there's so many different ways to live, and whatever these white men in charge think is the way, like that's just their way for now, and they are dying, and time is our greatest weapon. And so when they're gone, are we going to be like, I know these evil pedophiles are dead, but let's keep doing the thing that they've been doing? The fuck no. So like they're gonna die, and they're sinking their own battleships, and so like it's time to get popping on some new thoughts because it's gonna be here sooner than you think.
Well, on that note, I think that's a podcast.
That's a podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Quite a
it.
podcast.
Yeah.
Good luck
Yeah.
editing that. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Of course.
And
yeah.
this is conversation is constantly existing between us, and
Good.
you're always welcome to join in and be a part of
It's an
our
honor.
thinking, because it's really nice. I love what you're bringing up, and it's important. So thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah,
not many
of
white
course.
men with the podcast that I would endorse, let alone speak on. So,
Wow. It's an
you
honor.
know.
Yeah.
But no one's going to take down white supremacy besides white men. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah,
takes
totally.
people like you guys being like, hello, I am a white man with a soul intact, to take it down, because they're not going to listen to us. They fucking rape us and murder us. Like, I saw this thing yesterday that was like, it has been Googled 165 million times in 2025, how to kill a woman without leaving a trace.
Wow.
You know? So just take that in your pipe and smoke it. And if you're a white man watching this, please read some books about how patriarchy harms you as well, because we need everyone to come to the fight, and everyone is harmed by patriarchy. So when you realize the harms of patriarchy and how you can not continue to inflict them, that will be better for the world. Because when patriarchy just continues to go unchecked for more and more generations, that continues to hurt everyone. So it's not just that, oh, won't someone please think of the women and children? Like, y'all, men, you're not doing okay. And so you have to take responsibility for that. You created the system to serve you, and it's not even working, and people are being murdered indiscriminately in the margins and in the front lines and all across the world. And so the more white men can take responsibility and try to convert their minds, deprogram their minds, and deprogram other white men minds around them, and other people, all men are evil, all different type of races, like, and not that women are perfect, but like the system isn't like set up to service us, and so we're already in our like survival mode, just trying to live. And so I think that part of what is going to bring people together is the falling of these systems, the falling of the patriarchy, the falling of the empire, all these things happening at once. Like, everything is getting scrambled, and that's why people having their skills and figuring out their role in community outside of capitalism is going to be imperative, because look around, capitalism as we know it, it's not going to be around that much longer, and we have a say in that versus how much we participate or how much we don't. Or your thing about, I want to start a Pilates co-op, like, there's so many business models that could exist. And so there's so many ways that already exist. There's already books and professionals. You don't even need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to tap into different channels. And so thank you for creating a channel that highlights people who are taking power in ways that are non-hierarchical and not state sanctioned.
Power first. Much love to y'all.
Yep.
Till next time.
Until next time.
You don't need a next time, because you got 3 episodes worth right there.
Wow, you watched/listened to the whole thing. I love you. You're amazing. You're a great supporter. Please keep watching. Thank you. Just the beginning. Let's go.